Indeed, we are back in the studio, and you know what? Christians all over the world, no matter the denomination, everyone come together to celebrate Christmas, and it's such a wonderful time. It's a time, that Christians believe that Jesus Christ died for mankind, and so we need to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And today we are talking about the essence and the importance of this celebration. And of course, we have in the studios pastors, reverends. Let me start with the Reverend Father Francis Raji. He's a missionary of St. Paul Priest. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I also have in the studio Reverend Dr. Israel Christy Leary.
Christy Leary.
Okay, he's from the Shepherd Hill Baptist Church. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's
and
a pleasure.
We have a pastor in charge, Solution Zone, RCCG Province 13, Bagada, Lagos, Pastor Shola Akonde. Thank you for being here, for joining us this morning. So since I'm with you, let's talk about why we need to do this celebration. It's been done for several years, 2,000 years that Jesus Christ is believed to have died, and why do we need to continue in this celebration?
Several reasons. Daily, people are being born who never experienced Christmas. Some younger generation are growing up who never knew about Christmas. So this aspect of remembrance makes sure that, it never dies out. You never have a generation that does not know about what Christ came for and what he stood for. And this continuity is also actually what begets its continuity also. So you keep going because you met it, and you also give it back to your children who also continue in the same vein. Christmas is a very nice time.
But Dr. Christy Leary, do you agree? Yeah, in addition to what he has said, I believe that since Christmas is all about God's plan for man's salvation, redemption, and God has not ceased in offering that plan to man. Is a plan God has offered until Christ comes back. So every year we do this to remind ourselves that the opportunity for turnaround, for change, for redemption is still available if we can only grab it.
Reverend Raji, if it's a plan that God has given towards the redemption of man, and it's a plan that is being moved from generation to generation, why does it seem as if Christmas has been so commercialized?
Christmas was commercialized. Basically, it's a human thing. It's a human celebration that God, at some profound point in time, chose to be human and chose to come down to give us the love, the joy, and the peace that we deserve. And if God has come to give us those gifts of love, peace, and joy, you cannot but bring it to the fore and let everyone know about it and let everyone celebrate it. And so it's been commercialized, but then the Christ of the Christmas should never leave it. So there's no harm in commercializing it, yet the Christ should never leave it, because that's the essence.
Okay.
So the Christ should be like
the essence of it.
not just the essence, just on top of all of the other things.
I think there's a human dimension. To some extent, I'm a little bit different from him. I think the commercialization is an aberration. If you look at Christmas today, people, most of the time, focus more on the commercialization. Yeah, he said Christ should be the essence, which is the real thing. But when commercialization has taken over the essence, then we need to have a rethink. Today, if you ask people about Christmas, the first thing they think about is turkey, chicken, new clothes, and going out on holiday. Even some countries today, they don't want to say Merry Christmas, they want to say Happy Holiday. Now, we need to have a rethink. The commercialization is an aberration. At the first time, it was all about Christ. And we should start rethinking about that and going back to that essence which he has mentioned.
So when do you think we deviated from this?
Wow. One cannot say. Man has a way of gradually deviating. Now, you wouldn't say at this point in time. It was a gradual deviation that has dovetailed into, there are so many excesses. Even when people want to write Christmas today, what do they write? Xmas. X doesn't stand for Christ. It's one of the aberrations. Christ is the key. And no matter what we want to do, Christ and Mass is Christmas, not X and Mass.
Pastor Shola.
Well, whichever way you look at it, I believe as IK, who one of the, not presenter of, one of these popular presenters does, make some noise. When you are making some noise, some message gets through. So some people may come towards the idea of commercialization, how to make good money, how to make good business. But in the process, a message is going out and there's some degree of reception gradually. Someone who was involved in huge commercialization, so to say, at a Christmas function, one day the message will get through and then it sort of tallies together. In fact, I love the period of Christmas. Do you know the weather even changes? Everything just looks different. You just know, you wake up one day and you know it's Christmas period. Glory be to God.
But what about that part where Pastor Christy talked about the deviation, the gradual deviation, so that to the point that when people no longer want to write Christmas, they write Xmas. People no longer want to say Merry Christmas, they say Happy Holiday.
And you see the meaning of that X, I think it comes from, if I stand to be corrected, I think it has a meaning in either Greek mythology or language or so. And that
Roman
X
numerals.
really relates to Christ in a way.
In Roman numerals, X means 10.
Yeah,
That's not true. I'm a Nitizen scholar. That's not true, sir.
I'm not really, Greek or
the letter
something.
Chi,
Okay.
which at some point...
So, but what Reverend Christy Lere is saying is Christ is Christ. So the X in it or all of these other things attached to it should be
I really
de-emphasized.
don't think, if you call it Xmas, when I say Xmas, what do I read? If you tell me to read what I read, I say Christmas. You call it Xmas, I say Christmas. There may still be some other spelling in some other language. I will just still call it Christmas. So, and it's just the message that comes through. You see, no matter how the world tries to change a story, particularly this fundamental story of Christ, it will still always come out even where they are trying to change it. Maybe you are commercializing it with gifts, with various types of inanimate objects. When people still see it, they will say, Christmas. And when you say Christmas, it's Christmas. It's just allied to the story. So now here we are in a program now, we are debating it. It's still Christmas, it's still the story of Christ that is coming out, irrespective of whatever.
Okay, now.
Father Raji, 1 second. Father Raji, when you look at the economic situation, would you say, I know I asked a question about commercialization, would you say that Nigerians and indeed the world, those celebrating, are actually getting the fulfillment that's supposed to come with Christmas?
The moment we get the fulfillment of Christmas, then we probably should stop celebrating it.
Okay.
So it's an ongoing thing, and we long for that peace, love, and joy. So if you keep on longing for it, then you have to keep on celebrating it.
Even in the midst of economic challenges.
Beyond, Christ was born in a manger. Christ was born in a very poor place. Christ was born where there was
Into
no
economic
inn,
challenges.
into economic challenges. And so that's a sign to say, well, even in your poverty, even in your sorrows, you still have a need to celebrate the fact that God wants you to be happy, to be joyful, to have peace. I guess that's the calling.
Reverend Raji just mentioned very important aspect of this. Christ was born in a manger. But you see that, people sometimes you don't want to be lowly. You see some people don't want, I have to be here or no other place. How do we imbibe this lesson of humility, lesson of peace that Christmas personifies?
Let me start by saying there is nothing wrong in being lowly. It's not a sin to be lowly. It's not a sin to be highly. I need to say that very clearly. And not all will be lowly and not all will be highly. But all are required to be humble. You can be lowly and be arrogant. You can be highly and be humble. Now, he was born in a manger. If you look at the story, it may be God's own design. But if Mary and Joseph had another option, probably they would have gone for it. For the Bible said there was no room for them in the inn. In other words, they would really mind to stay in the inn if they had the option. But God's own grand design was for that to happen that way. We should come to terms with the fact that God creates us differently. Nothing wrong in aspiring to be better, but we must aspire to be better in a godly way, in a humble way, and doing things according to the will of God. Each of us should aspire to be what God wants us to become, and not necessarily do it in such a way that will be anti the plan and the program of God for us as individuals.
Pastor Shola, was Jesus actually born on December 25th?
Frankly speaking, maybe about a decade or two ago, I was deliberating more on that. And I came to the conclusion, what's the difference? Whichever day you choose, so long as the message gets across. In fact, I looked at it so much that I even stepped back to Easter. You celebrate Easter sometimes end of March, mid-April. I mean, very variable dates. And yes, we still talk of Good Friday and Easter Sunday. I was born on a particular day, 20th of February in some year. It does not change. The days may change, but look at the variability of Easter. So what is there now is the message. So many stories of how December 25 came about, read so much about it. I just come to the conclusion that a message is coming out at a particular period of the year. And in a particular period of the year, whichever day it was, Jesus Christ was born. I saw my birth certificate first time in my life at the age of 23. And it's only then I knew the date of birth was 7 months apart.
Indeed, I had an issue with my birthday. I was told it was 5th. Then when I saw my birthday, we were saying 22nd.
So it doesn't really matter. What matters is
that I was born.
Yeah. I think that's the key. That's the key. And people should not make unnecessary noise about is it this day or not that day. The fact is that the day has come to stay. And the day is celebrated all over. There's no other day like Christmas Day all over the world. Even in countries whereby they say it's the Islamic countries, you will still find traces of this there.